Welcome back. The Nahr al-Bared crisis might be over, but questions still remain as to how serious a threat so-called radical Islam is to Lebanon. The situation remains still tense, and authorities are still chasing elements of Fatah al-Islam who have escaped. Many in Lebanon fear that the group is only one among others which may be trying to use Lebanon, a country which has little history of fundamentalism among its Sunni Muslims. So how serious is this threat, and is the government aware of the consequences? Well, to answer these questions, let's go back to our guests. They are all in Beirut: former Lebanese General Ilyas Hanna, Ahmed Moussa at the American University, and Sami Hermez. He's a Lebanese activist. Mr. Hermez, we touched on the accusation of Syria. What about the counter-accusation? In the past 3 months, there's been talk of previous US, Saudi, Hariri-linked backing of Fatah al-Islam in order to counter Hezbollah. Do you think that is plausible, or is it a far-fetched conspiracy theory?
I think it's quite plausible. What I see on the ground is that you're talking to people on both sides of the camp, the opposition and the pro-government, and people aren't really able to counter this argument, to argue against it. I think it's starting to gain a bit of ground. The question really is, this is all over now, so the major question is one of accountability. Is the army going to investigate the issues? Is there going to be an investigative body to hold someone accountable? You can't, I don't think, bring in a group like this over 6 to 8 months that some accounts say they had heat-seeking technology, things like that, that you can bring them into a country so fast and have them entrenched so deep into a camp without some sort of Lebanese support, some sort of Lebanese cover. That I believe, in order to get past this, we need to have an investigation, find out who financed them, who entered them into the country, and hold someone accountable so that this isn't happening over and over. You have Jund al-Sham, apparently there were also accusations there that they were being financed by a certain party, and again, there's no accountability. There's sort of conspiracies in the wind. And the problem in Lebanon is you have such a weak state that the conspiracies take hold because there's no state to put pressure and tighten up these conspiracies, and without any accountability, they remain at the level of conspiracy.
All right, let's bring in Ahmed Moussa here. What about those other groups like Jund al-Sham and Asbat al-Ansar? How strong are they, and where do they stand after the defeat of Fatah al-Islam?
Actually, they are very radical militant groups who are ready to do the same thing as Fatah al-Islam did. And they are as well financed, trained. They have fought in many other places, including Iraq. They consider themselves ideologically connected to Al-Qaeda or to the Salafi ideology at least. And therefore, I think we have to look at these groups, and there are others as well that are well known to be in the camps. And unfortunately, I give you an example of the government maybe indirectly not knowing what it's doing. They allowed Asbat al-Ansar, which is a radical terrorist group, to be a buffer between the Lebanese army and the Ain Hilwi camp in Sidon. And Jund al-Sham was dissolved and reintegrated itself into Asbat al-Ansar. And what we are seeing actually now is probably most likely what we'll see, that these militants, or at least militants outside the camp, will go on to do other terrorist activities or upsetting the security of Lebanon. We are witnessing now the mushrooming of Al-Qaeda type groups. They don't have to be linked directly or indirectly. We are not talking which generation they are. It doesn't matter actually. They are here, they are to stay, and I think they will raise up a lot of it. If you allow me one short comment. It is definitely now clear. We know, for instance, that the Fatah al-Islam group is made up of many other groups, including people from a Dunya group. And who released these people who were arrested during or actually sentenced to prison and they joined Fatah al-Islam? It was the Hariri trend. Who released, who moved Jund al-Sham from Ain Hilwi camp in this in Sidon to Nahr al-Barid, it was also Hariri involvement. So wherever you look at, you find some kind of involvement, and there are a lot of outside information, including Martin Indyk, for instance, who was very clear that there was a U.S. Saudi Hariri connection in this. Martin Indyk is not a lover of Syria. Martin Indyk is not a lover of radical Islam. He's anti all of these things.
All right, sir. All right, so I'm going to have to interrupt you because I want to move this on a little bit. So Ilyas Hanna, is Nahr al-Barid a prelude to the army taking control of other Palestinian refugee camps? Because we know, according to the 1969 Cairo Agreement, the Lebanese army is not supposed to enter any of these camps. So is that going to be re-looked at?
First of all, the Cairo Agreement 1969 was, cancelled by the Lebanese government. So the army can go wherever, whenever and whatever it wants if the political decision is really taken by a Lebanese consensus, if I may say. This is not a prelude, because I think that everybody saw what happened in Nahr al-Barid. Now the army and the armed forces have gone from a situation of mystery, not knowing what is Fatah al-Islam, not knowing what is Al-Qaeda, not knowing what is this radicalist group, into the state of puzzle, when you don't know sometimes this is the solution, but you know that there is a solution. It is like on the job training. The success of this army today in Nahr al-Barid will deter more camps or more radical group. Now the situation of the intelligence of the Lebanese army is more aware of the tactical intelligence that they have in hand. They are reconstructing the network of these kind of groups. Moreover, you cannot generalize the situation or the status of Nahr al-Barid to other camps. Each camp has its own context, the balance of power inside, the surrounding, the environment. Is it Sunni? Is it, Shia? Is it Hezbollah or something else? And I would like to comment on Dr. Musalli's about, I'm not defending Al-Hariri or other people. I mean, I refer to Rougier, the book, Everyday Jihad, that the same groups of Jund al-Sham or Asbat al-Ansar that were used to be called Jund Allah were financed by the Iranian government. So we don't have, there is a shift, there is a paradigm shift in Lebanon now that is going on. Instead of secularism or nationalism, we are seeing the Islamist, radicalist, jihadist umbrella.
All right, let's bring in Sami Hermez here. Mr. Hermez, there's just a minute left on the show. Are the biggest losers out of all of this the Palestinian refugees themselves, not only for their dire immediate condition, but because there's a feeling that groups like Fatah al-Islam have in some way discredited their cause?
Yes, I think that's true. Of course, the immediate pressure and the immediate destruction to their own homes and the whole camp is the first victimization, and 30,000 refugees are displaced. But just looking into the future, there's again, these people are going to be away from their homes for another 2 years. As one of the accounts from UNRWA is saying that they won't be able to return. They need to reconstruct their homes. You have the whole Lebanese community has been polarized against them. All of a sudden, the Lebanese have been able to unite because the Palestinians are seen as a foreign element. And so until the Lebanese are able to see that the Palestinians are part of this community and not strangers to it or foreign to it, I think we're going to continue to see cycles of violence.
All right, then, gentlemen, I'm going to have to stop you there, Mr. Hermez. I'm sorry, we have run out of time. Ilyas Hanna, Ahmed Moussa, and Sami Hermez, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us on a very interesting topic. And thank you so much for joining us here on Inside Story. Bye-bye.